Alright, everyone. Today we're playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 in 2025. The EA version, not the original from 2005. This is Battlefront 2017, 8 years later. There are still people that play online, though unfortunately it's not nearly as many as there were just even a few years ago. It is pretty difficult, actually, to find a match, to find a full match of Supremacy and, like the big 40-player matches. They're just really hard to come by these days. If you're playing on the weekends, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you will be able to find a match with very few issues across all platforms, but most of the time, you're going to be waiting, you're going to be looking for a match, and a lot of the time, you're just going to be sitting in a lobby waiting for something to happen, and it never will. So, it all depends on what region of the world you live in the EU and also North America is going to be your best bet. If you live in any other regions, then you're probably not going to be able to play this game, at least not as easily. Now, as far as other game modes, Blast, which is the 6v6 mode, is easier to find matches, because obviously you don't need as many players to fill it up. And Heroes versus Villains, you'll still get some matches occasionally, but again, like, if you're expecting it to just be like, oh, I'm looking for a match, you get an instantly, you're not going to get into the match instantly. Sometimes, most of the time, it's going to be a really annoying process of actually being able to play. But again, on weekends, you're pretty much good to go. But it's not one of those games where you can just play and, no matter when or where, you'll be able to get into it. Just because it's a game that it was a live service, but support ended for it a number of years ago at this point. I think it was 2020, if I'm not mistaken, early 2020, that they no longer updated the game. And, it sucks because they were really cooking with those updates, the last few updates that this game had. And there were more updates planned, and this game could have been even bigger and better than it ended up being. I mean, it was and still is a great game to play. And remember, this was before crossplay, so you cannot play with your friends on different platforms. So that is one big downside, but it's otherwise still great. And despite being almost a decade old, graphically speaking, it still looks beautiful. It is aged remarkably well, and it could honestly pass for a PS5 Xbox Series X game, at least if you're playing the PC version. And I would honestly recommend it to any Star Wars fan that for some reason skipped out on this game and never played it. I mean, it has a lot to offer. It has so much content in it, so many different characters that you can play as, and really good and rewarding progression system. There really is not much bad to say about it, aside from, it would be nicer if there were more people that were playing online, but it's not to the point where I would say it's necessarily dead, and it would be like, I can't recommend it to you, because there are a lot of great games that are dead, and I can't recommend due to the extremely low player count. It's not extremely low in this game. It's definitely a lot higher than Battlefront 1, especially on PC. Battlefront 1 is completely dead, but it's, it really just reminds me of just EA and how much they suck sometimes, because this game really could have been so much more, and they could have kept supporting it for at least another 3, 4, 5 years, especially since there's no Battlefront 3 in sight. It would be one thing if it's like, okay, we're ending support for Battlefront 2, but we're going to come out with Battlefront 3, but that game has never come, and at this point, I don't know if it ever will. I think it may have something to do with they're waiting for a new era of Star Wars to begin, so they can market it, like they can market Battlefront 3 that way. I don't know if it's going to be like Old Republic or whatever the next film saga is going to be. They were originally going to do a film saga with those fucking idiots that did Game of Thrones. I forget their names, but that got canceled. So the future of the Star Wars franchise as a whole is kind of up in the air now. So I guess it's natural for the Battlefront series to also be in that same situation. But it's such a weird, it's just a weird thing, because Battlefront 2, despite its initial flaws with the loot boxes and everything and all the controversy that surrounded it during its launch, if you guys were around back then, you would know and you remember what I'm talking about. And it eventually got so much better. The monetization, everything got better, and it ended up selling a lot. It was a very huge success. So I understand why Titanfall 2 never got a sequel, because it didn't sell nearly as well as they hoped for it to. But Battlefront 2 certainly did. So it's kind of a head-scratching thing where it's like, if they want to make money, you'd think we would get a third game by now, but we still have not. But hey, it's aged, like I said, very, very, very well. It's not like, oh my god, this game is so old and outdated. It's just one of those things where, of course, there's not going to be any more updates or support. People are going to move on and play something else. And that's exactly what happened here with Battlefront 2. But let me know in the comment section if you still play this game in 2025. And how upset were you when you found out that this game was no longer getting updates and support? And do you think that Battlefront 3 will ever happen at this point? I honestly don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards no, but never say never.